Hello, everyone, and we are live.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the next episode of what did we call this again? Mom's Open
Mom's
Table.
he doesn't even know.
Sorry, this is our
Doesn't
only our
even
second
know.
episode, so still new to this whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. This is a talk show type format where we bring together GMs, players, creators of all shapes and sizes to share their stories, insights, and hot takes in the TTRPG world.
Yeah.
I'm Andrew, and today we're talking to Maia. And she is a prolific game master.
Prolific. Oh my God. I feel godly.
And before we dive too much into our conversation today, how
Yeah.
about you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Maia. I've been in the TTRPG space only for a couple years, and I'm very happy that I found it. And I am a UX UI designer by trade. I'm from California, but I like to travel and like experience different cultures and different things. So I've moved to Denver for a couple years. And then after that, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go somewhere else. Denver was fine. It was really, really cool. But now I'm in like North Jersey, and I just opened up Google. I'm in North Jersey now, and going to New York a lot, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Harlem. It's been interesting to say the least. There are definitely some quirky personalities that I feel like you can only experience in New York. But yeah, so that's me. I'm wondering if am I missing anything?
No,
31.
actually,
I'm 31 years old, and my birthday is in a couple weeks.
just a baby.
Compared
just,
to you, because I think you're like
come-
75.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. I mean, before we got, and you have, like you said, traveled a lot. You've moved
Yeah.
around a bit.
Mhm.
Do you think that has affected the way you approach TTRPGs? Like, perhaps, and giving you perhaps a different perspective on the world, people, interactions, that kind of thing.
Oh, I haven't thought about that, but I'm sure it has. I'm sure kind of just your whole kind of life experience um, is injected into everything that you do. So my work outside of TTRPGs and inside of it, I guess but that natural curiosity in me has naturally lends itself into TTRPGs, I think. So like just wanting to tell different types of stories, learning about other people's stories and things like that. Yeah, probably lends itself. And I haven't really thought about that, but
And
I'm
I
sure
think
it does.
you told me once. We've known each other now. I think just under 2 years when we first
Yeah,
started.
we should talk about that. I do. Okay, so real quick, I did want to bring up that Andrew reached out to me, like the way that we got our actual play YouTube started. Do you remember? Oh God, you guys,
My memory is like goldfish, so
he's
you'll have to
you.
remind me.
So it was 2023, I think, like the later end, and you like saw something in me even then, because you reached out and you're like, oh, I think you'd be really great. You're like, I have this idea for starting a group, and I think you'd be great at actual plays and stuff like that. And you only played with me once. Like I had played City of Mist, I had ran it one time, and then I didn't understand it. And then so I was like, I don't understand combat, so I'm just gonna run a combat scenario. And then you joined in for that, and we played it on Alchemy of all places. Alchemy didn't have anything like ready for City of Mist at the time, so it was just like maybe visuals and like the map and stuff. And then you joined for that, and then from there, I started another City of Mist group. You joined into that, and then it kind of just snowballed into more and more and more, and then now we're here. So you're kind of like the first one. You called me on Discord. We talked for like maybe an hour while I was at the dog park, and we just talked about like actual plays and streaming and stuff like that. But yeah, that was 2023. You're the one that like kickstarted this idea. So maybe I would have started it, but I don't know.
I think you would have. I think
I don't know.
that's just in your nature, and I saw that almost immediately when I started playing with you, that you had this passion for diving headfirst into
Yeah.
systems and games and the whole TTRPG scene. Who cares like what happens? You just were just so happy to be in this space and explore everything that it had to offer.
Yeah.
You're what do they call it? You were a force of nature. So
Oh.
you're unstoppable. Like there's nothing. I don't know. Maybe it's obsessive about it.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Yeah.
but no, I saw that and I thought, wow, this is this. Maya, you have that natural ability to elevate this
That's
game. So yeah, no,
that's
I'm glad you
crazy.
picked it up. So
That's crazy that you saw that because I didn't even think about that for myself. I was just like, I just ran City of Mist for the first time yesterday and I was overwhelmed and I was like, I don't understand how combat works. And that's your first experience with me. So it was just me going in like unsure of how to play this game. But I think it's very interesting that you saw it then and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I'm kind of I realize that I'm like very grateful for you reaching out to me first and kind of kickstarting this idea because maybe it would have happened like later, or
I
something.
think it would have. 100%. I think it would have just been a natural evolution. Actually, that's a good segue into my next
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah.
You didn't stay being a player very long. You dove straight into the GM seat,
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think immediately I knew that it's like that thing. It's kind of like a cliche at this point. You see someone else playing, you're like, I could do it better or something, or I want to tell a story this way. I think it came from getting started with D&D and then accidentally falling into Pathfinder where I was like, this is way too crunchy and not the kind of stories that I want to tell. And I was thinking that, okay, so maybe I could try this. And then so I had some help, specifically from people on, there's a Discord called Alt and where they kind of like teach people how to play. It's D&D based, but at that time I was playing D&D, and so there was one person there who actually kind of like mentored me a little bit and walked me through setting up my first one shot for other DMs. And so yeah, I kind of just dove headfirst because I realized I want to tell stories myself, but like in this way rather than how that GM did it. I want to try it this way. And then I realized, oh, okay, I don't want that much crunch. What other games are out there? And then I found City of Mist. So,
So you
yeah.
made the progression from, I don't know if you can call it progression, but you made
Yeah.
the change from being a player to being a GM mainly.
Yeah.
You've moved into actual plays, which is, I think, a different style or level of
Yeah.
game mastering.
Yeah.
It's a little different than home games typically. We've talked
100%.
about this.
100%. Yeah.
Where do you think you'll go from here?
Oh, where do I go from here? I think from here I'm still just kind of focusing on the craft and trying to be better and learning because like you said, I am obsessive. I have so much like TTRPG brain rot. If you just saw my brain and what I'm thinking about all the time, we kind of do the same thing. We'll get ideas or spark and then immediately I'll open up Notion. Here's a new idea. I was on for example, I was on the elevator going back up to my place. I put down an idea for our upcoming outgun game that we're going to play when we meet up. It just says outgunned idea, 3 squirrels in a trench coat. And it just popped up in my head. I don't even know what I was like, yeah. So it's just always in my brain, just like just TTRPGs and all that. But where I go from here is just trying to hone in on the craft and try to be better because I've done so much research. I've done all that kind of backloading. I still do it. But what I've learned, especially this year, is that you have to get that experience too. So like no matter how much you like read and take notes and study and research, that other side where you get that practical application is like just as important. And so that's what I'm trying to do now is like still learn from practical application, if that makes sense.
Yeah, playing the game.
Yes, exactly. So like that there's that side of experience too. Cause there's someone who's playing for 15 years and ran for 15 years, and maybe I know more than them technically. but they have that kind of knowledge of that 15 years. You just got to keep doing it and learning from that side of things. So that's what I'm trying to do now,
It's,
and maybe
it's
pair with some
interesting.
other actual plays. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that'd be cool. But you touched on something I want to explore a bit.
Yeah.
The length of time that you have actually been in this space is relatively short.
Yeah. Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it's pretty short.
Yeah. So what? Maybe just over 2 years now, ish.
Yeah. Like my first introduction to this was March 2023.
Right.
Like this whole entire world. Like I didn't know about anything. I didn't know about Dimension 20, Critical Role. Like I knew about D&D because it was in like the cultural zeitgeist. And I watched Stranger Things and I was like, oh, okay, they're just like playing a fun game and it's cute, 80s. But I didn't really dig deeper into it. So, but yeah, it's been a little over 2 years, but it
Okay.
seems longer.
You've done a lot in those 2 years. I
Yeah.
think the number of games you've run, the number of systems you've tried, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've tried 36 now. It's so
And
much
still
fun.
counting.
Yes, it's so much fun. I it's 36 or 37, but I don't know what's up next. Maybe I've been listening to a podcast about Blaster. I know our own GM Sid was talking about it. She talked about it for a second, and I was like, okay, looks interesting.
That looks like a
But
fun game.
mhm.
For sure. Yeah, Sid is, by the way, another Looking for Mom game master. She's officially a very bad influence. I told her this the other day.
How is she bad at what she do?
She keeps introducing. I mean, she must be like an itch.io or
Yes, yeah,
like partner or something like that, because she keeps posting these games
yeah. I
and
think
Discord that
she
just
has like
sound
100
just
of them.
too many games to play. And so I just backed another one yesterday that she recommended or that she
You did?
mentioned. That was like, yeah, I personally blame her for the poor state of my wallet
How
these
dare
days.
you,
So
Sam? I said,
yeah.
how dare you?
um,
No, it's great. I don't think I don't know if there's anything out. I know the Alien RPG did really well, and I love Free League, but I never watched the Alien movies. Sorry. But I
all
know
right,
I know they're
we'll
classics though.
yeah, they are. It's a whole lore fest of Alien for sure.
Uh-huh.
But I want to get back to the number of years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned that, and I agree with you. I don't think the number of years that you've been playing or been in this hobby dictates your skill. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Um,
I would
I've
say
been
it's
playing for 30
yeah, how long have
years
you been
plus,
playing?
30 plus years. And I can tell you my evolution has changed dramatically since the day I started, right? Or it's
Yeah.
very much into OSR type games, the crunch, love that. And
Yeah.
I'm more into narrative, like yourself, I think.
Yeah. But yeah,
Do you,
yours took like those years. Mine was like 3 months or so. I was like, nope, not for me.
yeah. Do you find yourself like gravitating to one style of play over another then now?
Style of play. What okay, so this year, surprisingly, like these past few months, just learning a lot about actual play, narrative play, and what I want from a game, whether it's streamed or it's a private game. So I've learned that no matter what the game is, the style that I want is collaboration. And I want engagement and like proactivity, if that makes sense. And I found that that's what makes this fun for me. Like if you're not that kind of passivity or sitting back and maybe you think it's like a beer and pretzels game, I take it seriously and I put in work to every single game, no matter if it's like a private game where it's like, lower stakes, I don't have to think about an audience. But it's not fun for me to constantly like handhold like every single person. I find that it's kind of like a mental weight on me. And so that part's not fun. I can feel like, oh my God, if we did this more, the burnout would happen within like 3 sessions. And so that style of play is always kind of like narrative heavy, role play heavy, improv, yes anding, collaborating on what people and like what I say and building off of that. And then I also like helping and like teaching people how to do that too, giving small notes and feedback here. I've done that for my Obojima game on Saturdays. Sometimes I'll just have like little notes before we start, like, hey, you guys did great here. Can you like center yourself in the middle of the camera? Or during the break I'll just be like, hey, so this person suggested an idea. You guys all immediately shot it down. That's kind of not in the spirit of yes and, just as a reminder. And being kind about it. And so letting people know like, hey, just watch out for that. And so but yeah, that's always on my mind. So that style of play is collaborative and like narrative focused that I really love. So that's what brings me joy when I run, when I play. Yeah.
That's cool. And that extends, like, whether this is a private game or
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
streamed actual play, that those same principles that
Oh,
are
100%.
core to game.
The only thing is that there's no audience with one. And so you
Right.
can kind of you can relax a little, but that doesn't mean you can just sit back and coast, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, you still should come as a player, like, be prepared with what your character knows, like their character sheet. Maybe like read over like the recap that's put up somewhere of the last session. Have a note somewhere with like as a reminder of what you want to do, or look over last session's note. Like, that is kind of like what I expect now. It's what I hope makes the game fun for me, but it's also part of like sharing the load too, so that the GM is not doing 100% of everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally get that. Play is the magic word. Yeah. Oracle GM. Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, kind of related to that though, like when you have very active players, ones that collaborate and bring new ideas to a game, perhaps taking the game in a direction not originally intended by yourself or anyone else, how do you deal with that?
Oh, I just roll with it as best as I can. I've never had moments where I completely like break down and start freaking out. I actually really love it. I had a moment recently where it was just like a solo session with another player, and I had bullet points of where we were going to go. It was just like a prelude session. And so it was just us two, and we were just diving deeper into their character. And I had a little bit of notes like, here, we're going to hit this beat, this beat, this beat. But this person like grabbed what I said, and not only they like took it and then built onto it and like started creating names for people. I didn't say the NPC's name, but they brought in an NPC. That's their name. This is what they do. They work here. And then I don't stop and say and freak out. And I'm like, oh, that NPC's, I don't know who is that. I just go, okay, yeah. So, they mentioned like, oh, here's Todd, and he works at that mechanic shop, the pit stop. Like, I didn't make an NPC called Todd I just go, yeah, and his wife is Marlene, and they talk about, and so I really, really appreciate that. And I think that is like the core of like that collaborative storytelling. And so
That is,
I really, really appreciate that.
I think it's, do you find players who have maybe sat behind the screen, have been GMs before, offer that type of collaboration a little bit more freely than players who are used to just having a story told to them? Yeah.
And I don't want to feel like I'm reading like an audiobook to the players. And so that is a note that I always have like pre-session notes that just pop into my mind throughout the week while I'm prepping. And so recently I was like, hey, so you guys can add to the world. And some of the players were like, oh, I didn't know that we could. Or they'd be like, oh, I was a little hesitant. So they're like, thank you for clarifying. So I think just letting people know that it's okay can go a long way. Just be like, hey, yeah, you can add in people. Like, if I gave the example, if you walk into a diner and then you just say, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the jukebox and it's playing this song. Like, I didn't mention a jukebox, but yeah, now there's one inside the diner. Like, that's okay. Like, add to the world like that. So I think it's really cool.
When you design a campaign or even a one shot and you have an idea as to what needs to be done or what needs to be done to advance a story, how do you balance that with like a player's freedom of like just wanting to explore a different path or something? Like, how How do you deal with that? Because if you
Uh,
like in a truly collaborative environment, I think everybody at the table, including the GM,
yeah.
is uh, l- learning and exploring as you go. You don't really know where you're going to end up.
Right.
Um,
Way to find out and all that.
yeah, exactly. So how do you still direct people to an end goal?
Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, because they're not that they're guardrails per se, but maybe they are. Maybe there are light guardrails. Um, in a truly collaborative game, I have to be honest, I haven't been in one that's like 100% sandbox collaboration, because that would probably get crazy. I'm not sure. I could try it one day, but you really truly need people who are going, like, everyone has to be proactive. And sometimes that's not everybody's play style. So I don't know if I'll ever run like a full sandbox where everybody's just super proactive, super engaged. It's like different levels I found. And some people need a little bit more hand holding than others, like a little, hey, here's a little hint, here's a little suggestion. Um, so I have like my story beats that I have, and then just make sure that I'm always thinking in my mind, okay, so when can I introduce that beat? So like if they go somewhere, like, oh, I want to go to this person and talk to this person, I go, okay. And then back of my mind, so I'm still letting them do that, but I'm still thinking, okay, so they do need to get to this location. So where can I add it in to this new place that they're going? And so just having like those plot beats, like, movable and malleable. So I think that helps. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, so here's a clue, but it can be anywhere.
Right.
Because if it's only if there's a clue that's only at the park and we can't go forward if they don't go to the park, then like the game stops kind of and then it stalls and you're like, okay, how the hell did we get them to the park? This clue
Yeah,
only works at the park. Just like just make sure the clue can move, or
exactly.
so that's
Yeah.
what I do.
That's good. I like that because then that still gives the players full agency as to where they want to go, and you're not like
Yeah.
railroading them. You have to go to the park. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Sometimes
Um,
sometimes I'll just go along with them and then make up a new clue on the spot. You know, wherever we need to get to this spot, but maybe I was going to give you this clue, but I made up something new, and now you're going to get there another way. But we're going to get there. Is my point.
so when you first started out GMing versus where you are now, you sound pretty comfortable now, improving
Oh,
and making things up as you go.
yeah.
Was that a progression for you? Like, was it as easy for you from day one to do this as it is for you now, or is that
I
a
don't
skill you had to learn?
I don't think so. I think I just got cuz like that I was saying earlier, the practical application, just keep doing it, keep doing it. I don't think so. And I'm a perfectionist and like probably an over prepper. And so I probably prepped like certain like things that the NPCs were going to say or do, and made the clues only in one spot and kind of scrambled to figure out, okay, how the players are gonna okay, I don't know how to. Oh god, I think that happened a little bit at the beginning, and then just the more that I do it, also I think just like being more comfortable with the system, then you could just start to be more flexible with it. So now I know City of Mist like very very well. So I think you could create clues on the spot, create bad guys, and then give them. You could like quickly create like their stat block, write down a couple notes, and this is how you defeat them and what they can do.
So
But no, definitely I got better with just how much I did it. It was not an immediate thing.
So it sounds like the way you run games and stuff, it really lends itself to homebrew, where you have a little bit more freedom, as opposed to like a pre-published
It
adventure. Is
it
that
depends. Sometimes I'll do pre-published, but like tweak it a little bit. So
okay?
make sure I can add in some like personalized moments. I
Right.
found that if I'm going to run like multiple games, because homebrew takes a lot of like mental capacity, I found. If I'm going to run like more than one game, like one of them's going to be pre-published and then one of them's going to be homebrew. Because I put in a lot of work in all games I run, no matter what kind of module I'm running. So, but have you found that like it's an easier load mentally when you do pre-published? Because that's
In
kind of how.
some ways it is, but I also find it kind of puts handcuffs on me. So because
Okay.
I feel like I have to railroad players through this adventure,
Oh,
which kind of I struggle with that.
with
So I
railroading or just.
with trying to advance the story as published, I might
Oh,
like yourself, I might tweak out characters or locations or whatever, but
yeah.
ultimately they, for example, in Curse of Strahd, at some point they need to face Strahd.
Right.
Um, but yeah, Curse of Strahd is probably a bad example because it is more sandbox than
It is
other
more
ones.
sandbox. Yeah.
But for example, Lost Mines of Phandelver, the
Right.
intro,
Yeah.
it's very railroady. You got to go from A to B to C to,
Mhm.
and there's not really a lot of room to move away from that unless you start exploring the Sword Coast, and then
And
you're
then
no
at that
longer
point, you're
playing.
not playing. Yeah. Then you're not
Yeah,
playing Phandelver anymore.
exactly.
So,
Um, so
okay.
yeah, I
I get
struggle
that.
with that sometimes still. So now I prefer homebrew, but I was just curious to know what you prefer.
Yeah. I think it depends. Like I said, depends because homebrew is a lot because I have to take in consideration like all the players, their backstories, NPCs they've created, their goals that drive them forward, their passion, their ambitions. It's a lot. And that's why I think like 3 or 4 players is an optimal number for homebrew because you have to take in consideration every single person and make sure that they have like a satisfying journey. Um, but I think it's easier with like Rules Light. Would you say? Like, what if it was like a pre-published one in like Electric State or like a Free League, like Tales from the Loop type? Because it's like Rules
Yeah,
Light narrative. I feel like it's a little bit easier to run pre-published.
and I like uh I
Yeah.
like the way Free League kind of wraps their adventures. Like even
Yeah.
in Vassen, they have mysteries that need to be solved. But there's so many ways you can do it. It's
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
The outcome, you don't have to like, I don't know, fight the mind flares at the end of the adventure. You can find another way to solve this issue, right?
Yeah.
Same with the Electric State. Even though you have like a setting, what happens in that setting
It's
up for
totally up
grabs.
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they let you know that throughout the book.
yeah,
Like you go from A to B, but like the game is in between that.
exactly.
So the game is not about getting to B, it's about literally what happens from A to B. And I'm realizing that more and more.
So, segue then. Like, what is your favorite system or
Oh
genre right now?
no.
Because you're kind of spreading. You go from like a pretty
Yeah.
grim Electric State type setting
Yeah.
to a cozy Obojima. So,
Because Electricity is so dark. Just imagine that you can only play The Last of Us and that's it. And you're like, "Dang, this is so it's so hard. It's like heavy, you know what I mean, after a while. And then so you do need like a palate cleanser. And then so Obojima is the palate cleanser. And then Electric State is the one where when I want to, everybody to get in their feels. I want everybody to cry and be freaked out and stressed and anxious. Um, but yeah, but you can't be that the entire time, you know? So you do need the dips. So going up and down, up and down. Um, so were you asking what's my favorite system?
genre, system, game.
Genre? Um, oh, I like all the genres. I don't know. And my favorite system, as you know, I've tried like 36 or 37 now, but my top 2 are City of Mist and Electric State. And a lot of what Free League does. But I do want to eventually run Tales from the Loop, maybe even Things from the Flood. I was thinking about doing a narrative play podcast for those 2. I'm currently in another actual play for Paint the Town Red, and that one's really interesting too. Very simple mechanics. I want to do a narrative play for that. Yeah, my mind is just always going with ideas.
And you're running are you still running the Nimble game, or is that one wrapped up for you?
Nimble? Okay, we're
Yeah.
using Nimble for Obojima.
Okay. No. Okay. I thought you did the Dragons of Ice Spire Peak. That one's wrapped
Yeah.
up, and then you moved
Yes.
on to Obojima. Okay.
Yeah.
But
So
you're also
the
going to play another
huh?
game of Obojima using a different system,
Yes.
perhaps. Okay.
So the first group that is Nimble. Well, okay, so we call it the Nimble Voyagers, and I was finding that like after about session 13 or 15, I was getting bored of the story. Like in a couple of my games, I was like, oh, I want to do something else. And I was
So
like,
this is why you TPK'd them?
I didn't. Who told you that?
I might have watched that one, but anyway, yeah.
That was listen. That one was unfortunate, and it wasn't my fault. It was basically their fault. No, I'm kidding. Hopefully, none of them are watching. But the idea for that group was that we do mini campaigns in Eberron using Nimble. So it'd be like 5 to 10 sessions and like playing different settings and genres. So one would be like political intrigue, one would be like a heist one, another would be a cozy one or something like that. And so we tried it out, and then I accidentally killed him. And then I said, you know what? Listen, that is not my, it wasn't my fault. But anyway, they died after session 2. And then I started, and then Obojima was like getting released and it was all coming out. And I was like, okay, let me just delve deeper into it. And then I just started, watching more Studio Ghibli to prepare. I started reading the book and the setting and the lore. And I was like, you know what? This sounds really awesome. I love this kind of like cozy feeling of like coming of age type stories, that feeling that Ghibli gives you and other animes when you're watching. And I was like, you guys, this would be so much fun. And I just basically, probably super late, random message. I just messaged all the players. I was like this long paragraph of like, okay, I know I found this new setting. It's gonna be so cool. Okay, I know that we were planning to do this. Can we not do that and just do Obojima, you guys? And this long message. Everybody's like, yes, 100%. You sound excited. Let's do it. So everybody was down, and so now we turned it into an official campaign. If we get to session 15, I guarantee you that I will not be bored.
Awesome.
Which is what I told the players, and they said, you said this online and we're holding you to it. We're going to finish this out. We're going to see it out. Okay. No matter how long it takes, it's going to be, we decided to go up to level 8.
You see,
and see
Sweet
how
Meg's comment.
I didn't see what is the comment? Is that Meg?
Yeah.
I can't see the comments.
Just no, the goal is 20 sessions actually.
Yeah, however long it takes, I want to have it. My original idea was like, okay, you guys, it's going to be super sandboxy. It's going to be based on what you guys want to do. And then we started realizing, okay, it might be a little too sandboxy. Players do like some type of goal and like something like attainable, like what is the clear goal? And so I decided I'm going to follow a 3-plot structure. So plot A will be the main campaign, kind of like Avatar. His plot A was defeat the Fire Lord. Plot B is like Zuko's his arc, and so that's what their plot B will be. It'll be like the personal stuff, and then plot C is like the fun stuff where they're doing like penguin sledding, or they go to like a random village and learn a lesson real quick, or it's like the Cave of Two Lovers, or something like those kind of simple ones where you need a break from plot A. Which is like defeating the Fire Lord, all that stuff. So I'm gonna go with that structure when we transition to the adult arc, because I found that like, okay, I don't think super sandboxy with no clear goal is probably the route to go. Some type of semi-linear, I think, is always like a good middle ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Brennan Lee Mulligan who kind of described it as I forget what the exact analogy was. I'm paraphrasing here, but I think it's like a waterfall. Like water is eventually going to go from top to bottom, but how they get there and the path they take.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he's talking about railroading or something, and he was like, I forgot what he said too, but basically people like a little railroad, just like hide it from them.
Exactly.
People want to. I found that players, I can have the most like engaged players and things like that, but I found that for the most part, people like a little linearness. Like tell them where to go. There's like an NPC is like clearly giving you a hook, and then they grab with it, and then they grab it, and then they go with it. So I don't like players to kind of like sit around and like fiddle their thumbs like, okay, what do we do now?
Exactly. There's a dreaded silence, awkward silence when you ask, well, so what do you guys want to do? And everyone's just like, I
Oh,
don't.
when you can do everything, what do you
Yeah,
choose? So I don't
exactly.
want that analysis paralysis. But I'm also going to I'm running another Obojima campaign, which is what with Legend in the Mist. I think those systems are kind of meant for each other. Like they even have like the same kind of core inspirations. Like the creator of Legend in the Mist said his inspiration were like, Lord of the Rings and Princess Mononoke. So they call it rustic fantasy. Obojima's leisure fantasy. It's kind of like in the same. They're like in the same room. So I definitely don't think. There's a whole. It's a whole thing. I don't think D&D is right for it, but I understand why they did it on a business side of things. And I'm glad it got out to like so much people and it did so well. So a lot of people know about the setting now. I do think like a lighter system, maybe even like Kids on Brooms, works well for that type of setting.
So one of the games that Sid, say
Yeah, Sid, of course,
saying that very lovingly, introduced me to just yesterday. The one I just backed is called Grimwild. You should check it out. This
okay.
isn't necessarily a plug for them. I haven't played it myself, but it
Yeah.
looks amazing. I've read some comments saying this is like the next PBTA type.
Oh, really?
Break. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I looked at it, looks like a blend of your Zero engine.
Okay.
For D&D. It's kind of cool.
Oh, okay. So I was trying to, because with the Year Zero engine, you can kind of make your own system. You can grab those core mechanics and do a lot with it.
Yeah.
And
So
I was like,
it's like very simple. 4 attributes, dice pools.
Now you're speaking my language. I love a dice pool. I love a
So
decent
check it out.
pool.
I think this might be up your alley too.
Oh,
very
okay.
rules light, narrative heavy. They dedicated 2 to 3 pages in their core rule book just talking about narrative play. It's
wait, do you have it?
I do have the PDF. It's free on DriveThruRPG.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, don't get me started, Andrew. What you're doing now? I'm definitely going to look this up after this.
Yeah, system number 38 for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, Grimwild. How do you spell it? Do they spell it like
just how it sounds? Grimwild.
Awesome.
We should look into getting sponsors for this.
You're like, we talk about it so much. Maybe in the future, that is one of our goals. I hope that we can do this and get some sponsors and get our names out there. That'd be great.
That'd be cool. All right, so back to this. What in terms of world building, like whether it be Obojima or a completely homebrew setting that you've created for yourself, name one world detail. Could be small, could be grandiose. That you are really proud of that you have created.
Oh, in a world. Okay, here's the thing. I love grabbing from like pre-established settings. I think people are so creative. And so, but my point is, I just thought of something that I know that you'll love, but I think people are so creative. I usually just grab from other settings and then just like, if I need to add in NPCs, I'll just add in NPCs. If they don't have something, I'll just add it in myself. But one thing from one of my City of Mist games that we all kind of like collaboratively came together and kept in, someone made a joke about like, oh, what taxi service are you going to take?
Oh, jeez.
And someone said, like, we didn't want to use the official name Uber. So someone was like, oh, it's called Guber or something. And I was like, okay, that's official. I took the name Guber. I even like made a logo for it. I made the background for it, the owners, the investors. Guber is my most favorite creation that we have ever created in a game ever. And it's basically, they're not just drivers, but they're also therapists. Okay, so they are certified licensed therapists, and their job is to drive you to your destination, but also to your calling. Okay. They are extremely annoyingly calm.
Hmm.
Um, and well, how would you describe the Guber drivers?
I love them so much. I punched one in the face. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to tell me because I love them as an MC. Why did the players hate them? Like, players hated them so much, like physical violence towards them. And like on the outside, it's just these people who are giving like advice and they're nice and kind. Players hated them. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
They're
I got
just
him. Yeah, what was so wrong about them?
they're
What's
just so evil.
they're not even evil. They're
They're
not even
inherently
evil,
evil.
dude.
All you want is a ride from point A to point B. You don't want to be psychoanalyzed by the driver.
Listen, that's what you know what you're getting into when you get a Guber, though.
Yeah, and that's why we stopped taking them. That's just so we'd rather walk 100 miles than take a Guber.
Oh my gosh. But I definitely want to bring Guber back into another City of Mist campaign somewhere. Oh, that was just it was just
Gotta
a
be in your
great.
Legends in the Mist game. And
How?
it'll
What would
be like
they
a medieval Guber, just like a horse
still?
and carriage, just kind of.
Oh, but like a wise sage. Oh my god, that's a good idea. Writing that down. Wise sage Guber.
Oh my god, this is gonna be in all your campaigns now. That's gonna be
Yeah, their
horrible. I actually
slogan
feel so sorry for your players.
their slogan is ride with insight, where every journey supports your journey. And but yes, I love it so much. But I kind of get why they're annoying. I had one player start crying from how intense the car ride got, and I've never
It's evil.
I've never laughed so
That's just
hard.
see. You're laughing and they're crying. That's you're demented.
No, it was I don't know if you remember, but one of my other players, do you remember Sunny? She
Mhm.
was playing she was in the car with the Guber, and then the ride just kept going. Like, we were role playing this and she was good with like yes and. So we were going for like 15 minutes or something, and I wanted to break so bad, but it was so much fun. And then I wanted to see how far I could take it. And I was like, well, and then she started crying, and then like she started threatening the driver, and just it's so funny that you guys would threaten the drivers, you punched a driver, and then the car spun out and crashed. You
I got
took
hurt bad.
damage.
Yeah.
You took damage and you were fine with it. So
Yeah, totally fine. I walked away from that. I would have killed the Guber driver if I.
I gotta have a
Yeah.
whole campaign just about Guber. Just about Guber. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But yes, anyway, that's the answer to my question. Guber is one of the greatest creations ever to come of a game, and gotta get it in somewhere. And yes, a fantasy Guber, writing that down. Fantasy Guber.
Yeah. That is a surefire way for me not to play in any of your games. By the way.
I get it. I get it.
I'm gonna ask change things a bit.
Yeah.
I'm totally going off script, by the way.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sorry for it. I'm gonna go back to it actually. What would you say? Who would you say are your biggest influences in this industry? Like, where do you get your
Ooh.
hints and cues from?
Yeah, I
Improve
get it a
yourself?
lot from people who are doing very well produced actual plays and narrative play podcasts. So I listen to a lot of My First Dungeon, and they're like it's a small company, but they're putting a lot of heart and work into their audio and sound effects and ambiance. And what they do is they'll get someone will sponsor them, and they'll get the creator, and the creator will sit down for about an hour, talk about the system, and then that crew, the My First Dungeon crew, will take that and then play like a mini series and basically teach people how to play these kind of indie games. So they haven't done like D&D or Pathfinder. They'll take like Slugmaster, Paint the Town Red, 10 Candles, just very, very like small systems reach out to them to get their name out. And I think it's like a really great way one, to like learn how to play a system. So I've been listening to their Paint the Town Red miniseries, but I also get heavily inspired by how people use music and sound effects and ambiance. And so that's why it's heavily inspiring me for my own Paint the Town Red miniseries. So stuff like that. So also, like, my top is probably Brendan Lee Mulligan. Just kind of his style. I've heavily taken how he does intros with characters. They'll have like their own intro scene where it's like 5 to 10 minutes, like a vignette opening for them. I do that in all of my games to, solidify someone and properly introduce them. Um, Abria Iyengar, just because when I was first getting started, it was very nice to see another Black woman. I hadn't seen it, and it was really cool to be like, oh, so okay, so there are Black women in the actual play space, not just like playing the games, but like being a game master. Oh, and she's on Dimension 20. Oh, okay, and then she's on Critical Role, and so, um, and she inspired me because she's very cinematic and like uses a lot of like movie terms if you listen. And so I do that too. You be like, the camera cuts to, and then we fade to black, and then we zoom in, and you see. So she'll use a lot of words like that, like she's talking like a like movie talk, and I really like that to make things seem more cinematic, which is my favorite type of play. So
Cool.
yeah, so those are my big inspirations, and Worlds Beyond Number. I listened to that, and then it inspired me for my first season of Electric State. So I listened to that, and Taylor Moore, who was a great producer and editor and stuff like that. So he was talking about Worlds Beyond Number, and then I said, can I try to do that same thing? And so for season 1 of Electric State, I did my best, got a lot of compliments and comments and reviews and stuff like that. And people saw the growth, like from episode 1 to episode 5. Episode 1, episode 10, and yeah, now we're on season 2.
So, a question about that.
Yeah.
A game typically lasts for you maybe 2 to 3 hours on the long side.
Yeah.
How much time outside of the actual gameplay do you spend on prep and post?
Okay. Because I don't mind it. Do you want the actual number?
Just a ballpark. Yeah.
100 hours. No, I'm kidding. For each game per week. So for the Obojima game, on prep, probably, I don't do it all at once, but maybe like 3 hours. And then for Electric State, 4 hours editing throughout the week, and I cap myself off at 4. And people who are editors and the stuff like that, they'll know that that's super low. People will be editing for like 10 to 40 to 80. Like, I was just listening to
that's just because I suck at it, but
yeah. No, people who are like really, really good at it will be like 80 to 100 hours if they're getting really detailed. And I know that I'm doing this for free for the most part. It's just like a passion project. So I do cut myself off at 4 hours and try to do my best. But if it was a full-time thing, probably it would be 8 hours spent editing. But that's why I don't do these like narrative play podcasts too much, because I want the ambiance and the music and the sound effects to be really well done. And if I can't do that, then I just won't make one. And for Obojima, that editing is just like cutting out the middle parts and then slapping on an intro video, and then that's it. I do like pre-editing, if that makes sense. So I tell the players beforehand, hey, don't do this, and this. We got to be snappy. We have to think about an audience. Reminder that this is an actual play. So think about like what's like, stay true to your character, but what's also like a fun decision that people would be interested in watching and listening to. And so it's a lot of like pre-planning with me and the players. So I'll send them notes sometimes before a session starts, like, hey, here's all the beats that we need to hit. And then that's it. I won't give spoilers, but I'll just let them know, like, here's a little roadmap of the session. So that's part of the prep too.
So given the experience you've gained over the last 2 years, you've kind of been on the fast track to get to where you are now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a GM or a group of players who might want to start their own actual play?
I would say everybody has to be on board for it. They have to know what they're getting into. And I'll try to answer this question as best as I can from my personal experience. I know that I'm relatively new, but from what I found is you have to let everybody know upfront what they're getting into. And once they kind of understand that, because it can be stressful, there's a lot of things that it's not, you can't like sit back and just have fun for yourself only like at a home game. You have to think about so you have to think about the audience. You have to make interesting choices. We can't stay on mechanics for too long. Me as the GM, I'm not, monologuing at them and have a full sheet that goes on for too long. And so you have to think about pacing and things like that. You always have to remember that your home game is fun for you, but it's not interesting to watch for an audience. And you guys might make jokes and think it's funny, but once you get up to an actual play, that might not be interesting for people to watch. And so there's a lot of stuff you have to tweak and take out. And I always thinking about time and pacing. I think I heard Brennan Lee Mulligan say that what makes it an actual play is the time. Like his mind is always on the clock. And that is very true. Like you're always thinking about, we need to be here by 40 minutes in. Oh, we're at the 90-minute mark. It's time for a break. Have they hit this point? Because by the end of the session, we do have to get here, and stuff like that. So you have to think about timing and editing and what is fun for people to watch and not necessarily what's fun for just you and the players. I don't know if that sounds bad though, because like you guys should still have fun. And I think people want to see good chemistry and people having fun, right? But at the same time, it can't be over 3 hours. I keep mine like under 2 if possible. Like the edit is under 2. But yeah, I found people have like messaged me like, "Oh, it's under 2 hours, thank God." Or like for the Electric State, each episode was under 1 hour. And so they were like, "Oh, this is very like I can just grab and go and listen on a walk or something."
Yeah.
So you have to think about all those things.
Easily digestible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people think like, "Oh, I'm just going to turn on a camera and put a mic in the middle of our," but that's not, I don't want to sound harsh, but it's not interesting to watch a home game. But it's fun for you guys, and that's fair. But if you just turn a camera on and put a mic in the middle of the table, that's not, because it's part of like entertainment. And so you have to start thinking like a showrunner a little bit. So you're not just a GM at that point. You have to start and you want it to be quality, right? So
yeah, I hear you. And I think to be completely honest, I think when we started this channel, I'm speaking for myself. I didn't have any of that experience, and so basically, I was just posting up my home games on YouTube. And I hear exactly what you're saying. Like, although they're enjoyable and really engaging for the people at the table, it could be like watching paint dry, like, trying to watch.
Maybe.
So I think I learned a lot even from you, just the way you produced Electric State and where you're going and progressing.
Yeah.
So despite my number of years in this industry or playing these games, I'm still learning, and that's what I love about this. Whole world is that you're constantly pushing yourself, constantly learning and exploring, 100%. And it's fun on top of that.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
and so we're all growing. I recently, our Obojima game recently passed 1,000 watches or something like that, and I was like, wow! I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. I never had a video or expected the video to. I don't know about you, but I don't have expectations for like videos to get really high. I do my best and coach the players, and we do our best and stuff like that. But it's because the TTRPG space is so niche still, and it's kind of hard to break out. And so I was surprised, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's really nice.
No, that's amazing. I think I think it's a combination of a few things even though it is niche, Obojima is riding a wave of popularity and just released.
Yeah, for sure.
Your games are enjoyable to watch on top of that and easily digestible. So a combination of those things, I think, is going to help. I think the purpose, of Looking for Mom and having YouTube channel though is to bring these games and share them with people and offer them a chance to see how to play a game, right? And I
Yeah.
think originally when we were posting up our home games, we thought, hey, we're just a bunch of ordinary GMs, ordinary
Right.
players.
Yeah.
Here's our
Yeah. Yeah.
games, right? But to your point, they can be very hard to consume
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in that form without some serious editing, without some direction that you've
Mhm.
clearly
That's
pointed out.
that's true. I think we started it, even if we watch back, I remember our first video, we were all like, "Hey, welcome to Looking for Mom." We were like, "We're just a bunch of GMs, and we wanted to put this out there and show diversity in systems. You know, we're not just playing D&D." And then I think I agree with you. I started learning more and more about what makes an actual play fun to watch, rather than just like, because I've watched a couple of my older sessions and I was like, oh, okay, could have tightened up here, here, and here. I think originally the mindset was just like, make stuff and put it out. And then that was it. And then I realized, oh, okay, so we do need to edit. You do need to tell, like, you do got to tell the players, like, this is an actual play. So because it's for an audience, we need to do this, this, and this, or be like, so I realized all that stuff from the beginning. And especially this year, I'm learning more and more. Like, okay, so it just can't be a home game. Gotta put some more effort into it if we're gonna post it and stuff like that.
Right. And that's not to say I don't think that Looking for Mom is only going to be focusing on actual plays in the future or going
Right,
forward.
yeah.
I think we still want to offer in our community. I think there's a link to our Discord in our somewhere and Twitch somewhere.
Yeah.
Feel free to join our games. We have tons of games going on that may not be streamed, but we do still have a very active community and a bunch of new, more recent people have joined. Our game masters and offering all sorts of interesting games. So please join our community.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm always on the hunt. I call it I'm like a Pokemon master, and I'm always on the hunt for more Pokemon to add into my Pokeball. So I'm like, seriously, I love playing with new people and strangers and seeing their play style. And, you know, I know some people kind of stick with who they know, but I'm always like, hey, everybody was a stranger once. And the people that I know now that are great players, they were strangers once. So I love giving everybody a chance and seeing where it goes. So join the Discord.
Join the Discord, and it's what I find so intriguing about this whole genre, especially even online play. Is that you can get all sorts of people at your table from all walks of life, people that you typically wouldn't meet in your everyday life, and I love that, and bring them all together to share a story.
Yes,
and that's magical to me, and that's why I love this so much.
100%. Have you found that it's my next thing is that I'm trying to make online actual play specifically more intimate, I guess, because you just can't get that same vibe as in person. And I don't have an in-person game right now. But I want, like, I'm trying to think, like, do I change the overlay? I don't know. Is that something you thought about too? Just kind of like, how can I make this feel, obviously seeing people, like just visually seeing people, but like, what do I do? Do I tell them to sit a certain way or look at the camera a certain way? But I'm trying to get more engagement in that sense, or just like, do I make the screen wider? Do I not focus on the VTT so much? But yeah, I'm trying to have more like intimacy is like the only word I can think of. Do you know what I mean?
That's tough. I hear you exactly, because my home game alternates between online and in person. And it's a very different vibe.
Right.
Between the two. So I hear you. Segue from that. We are going to actually meet for the first time in person next week. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
It's our first ever Looking for Mom mini con in Redwall Castle of all places. Outside Washington,
my gosh.
DC.
That's gonna be so fun. I already have my dread scenario. I changed it. I at first it was gonna be like, oh, they're college kids and they're gonna go to a camp. And I was like, it was like a pre-written one, and I thought it was cool. So I was like, oh, I'll run it. And then I got an idea and I said, you know what? Because I watched a YouTube video, Smosh Games. They have like a guy who come on, he'll run Dread for that team. And he did a Fast and Furious Dread. And I go, oh, right. Like Dread doesn't have to be horror. It's just about the anxiety you get from pulling the blocks. So it's just could be any scenario where you're super stressed and tense and anxious. about pulling the blocks and potentially dying. And so I changed the story, and now it's super personalized. Because the character sheet is just a series of questions you answer, and so I kind of made that personalized. Everybody's connected to the story, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I saw your list of characters there. They all look
Yep.
fucked up in some way.
Yep. And it's set in a submarine. So just like I wanted to like remove you guys, because you can do it like, okay, maybe they're in space. Something where you're like super separated from the world and like want to rip your hair out from being around the same people for so long. That kind of like, I'm going insane because I'm in this kind of 20-foot radius. I can't go anywhere else. I'm tired of looking at your face. And like, you're like, I miss the sun or something like that. That kind of like, you're in a boiler, and that's that kind of like that claustrophobic feeling. So that's what that Dread game is gonna be like.
It's a perfect way to end our mini con.
That's the last game of the con. Yeah,
it is.
It's gonna be great.
That's awesome. So we are at time. Hold on, I gotta do one thing here. There we go. I don't know if you heard on your end, Maia, but I just rang the dinner bell. Hold on, I just have to figure out what I'm doing now. Okay, where with that dinner bell,
yes.
That signals that we're coming to a close on this interview. But before we wrap up, tell us where we can find you online, any upcoming projects or games that you want to tell us about.
Yeah. Okay. So online, it's pretty much everywhere is Maia's Game Room on Blue Sky. My like links page, Maia's Game Room. Yeah. And then you can find me on Discord as well. It's probably the fastest way to communicate with me. And then upcoming stuff is like we still have the ongoing Obojima game. So we're playing tonight at 5:30 p.m. EST, I believe. And then we're prepping for season 2 of Electric State, and that episode 1 is coming out on Monday. So
catch the preludes; they're awesome too.
Yes, the preludes are optional, but it does give you a deeper insight. So by the time you get to episode 3, you know why somebody blew up when I said something crazy as an NPC. But yeah, episode 1 for season 2 is coming out. I love Electric State so much. Is there anything else? After that, I'm going to do either an Urban Shadows home game. I'm trying to get people together here in like the New Jersey area to see how that goes, or Paint the Town Red, because like I said, heavily inspired by what my first dungeon did, how they ran it, and I think you could tell really cool stories. I saw Sinners by Ryan Coogler, and yes, it's a vampire movie, but it's not about like if that's like a surface level. That's kind of like to draw you in. Oh, cool vampires. And then you watch it and you're like, oh God, it's about spirituality, being Black in America, colonization, cultural appropriation, music, community, and all that. And so then I got even more inspired to tell like a vampire story. So I don't know. Yeah. So that's just all the stuff. Oh, and I'm in an Paint the Town Red game on Thursdays. We have 2 more episodes, like a 4-episode mini series. On the Starcrawl RPG channel, I believe it's called.
We're probably going to have to put a bunch of links in the show notes when we
yes, we will. I'll send you the links. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time, Maia.
Yeah, you too.
Folks, for tuning in. This is Mom's Open Table, relatively new formats. This is the 2nd episode, but we're excited to see where it goes.
Yes.
Please feel free to leave comments or provide us feedback so we can fine tune things and make this more enjoyable and informative for you to watch.
Yeah.
And remember, no fighting at the table unless it's in character.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
That's the ending line, everybody. I came up with it. Oh, I love it so much. I wasn't sure if it was too cheesy or not, but I was told
it's cheesy as fuck, but
okay.
But all good. All right. See you guys.
Bye.